National Pokeball League Season 4, Week 4. This week, the Swamperts, who are in the 0-3 hole, which not a very pleasant start to the season, are facing the Montreal Cobalions run by Davfernape. Division game, so this is going to be a big one. And before I get into team preview and stuff, I would like to give out a shout out to Showdown / Zeril / whomever's in the graphics department for Pokemon Showdown for the awesome new graphics that I'd have to give props to. They look really good. Don't know if we'll be seeing those in the next stuff I see on Pokemon Showdown, but yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. So, anyways, looking at teams. I was looking at Dave's matchup, and I was very, very scared of Weavile. And I had a practice match with Slick Rick Nixon earlier, and it turned out Zardax was going to be a little bit of a big nuisance. So, both of those I'm going to be watching out for. And pretty much my win con for this game is keeping my Conkeldurr alive. Conkeldurr threatens most of his team, and if that Excadrill wants to get a little bit cheeky, I have the Mach Punch for it. So, my game plan, keep Conkeldurr alive, I should be fine. So, hope you guys enjoyed this battle. Let's get this show on the road. So, starting off, Montreal is going to be leading off with Broadthorn. I predict that lead off with Gothitelle, and I get off a nice little taunt on this thing, just so I can prevent him from setting up Stealth Rocks or Spikes or Leech Seeding me or whatever. And Gothitelle is actually going to 2-hit KO the Broadthorn, but well, it only does 25% to my Gothitelle. So now out comes Charizard. I stacked Gothitelle here for this reason. I didn't know what this Zard wanted to do. If it wanted a Dragon Dance, then I'd be in a lot of trouble without getting a whole heck of a lot of damage off on it. I don't really know its move spread, and it doesn't look like Gothitelle would be too useful for whatever Dave had left. Well, there was that Nidoking, but I do have my own plans on dealing with it, so I was okay with letting Gothitelle go there. So now I can just bring out my Dragonite and threaten this thing out with the Dragon Claw, which has a nice animation here. Sends out Mandibuzz, and from that damage, it is looking pretty physically defensive. And here I'm just going to be going out into my Heatran to take a knockoff. It wasn't the most expendable member to take a knockoff at this point in time, because he didn't bring Slowbro, and I kind of brought Power Herb, so that would be a pretty dead giveaway. I'd be running Power Herb, Solar Beam, Heatran. So since he didn't bring Slowbro, Heatran is pretty much the most expendable member to take a knockoff at this point. And upcoming, my opponent makes a very questionable switch here. He goes out in a Weavile as I drop a Magma Storm on this thing. I connect and the Weavile dies. Weavile was a pretty big threat to my team. If it had Low Kick, my Heatran and my Empoleon would be dispatched. Celebi can't take a knockoff. Dragonite would just get crushed by an Astral Crash. Pretty much my best thing to take it would be my Conkeldurr. But in his defense, he did predict rocks, but I honestly don't know how you actually defend that actually. He switched in his Weavile on a Heatran, which went for Magma Storm, and Weavile just flat out died faster than it came in. So that was pretty big for the Swamperts. And now out comes Zardax. I'm predicting the Earthquake in here, so I just go into my Dragonite, and here he makes another questionable play, goes for the Earthquake again. But honestly, this doesn't really matter as I am packing a Bondberry Dragonite. Yes, the same Dragonite set that I did last week, which completely just did not work. So, my fault there. But anyways, Zardax just goes down to a Dragon Claw for my Dragonite, and that is pretty much all the big threats gone. So now I'm just going to be sending out Heatran here to sponge the knockoff, and I'm just going to try to fire off a Magma Storm, just trying to kind of sort of sack this thing, really. But Here, after the Magma Storm misses, I just decided Toxic. And I'm thinking here that Conkeldurr can come in pretty easily, sponge a foul play here and there. But he actually winds up going for the knockoff, which definitely hurts me a bit. And trying to take Nidoking's hits. And here I go for an Ice Punch. Does 48% since I'm Adamant, Max, attack, and also sheer force boosted. And there, Mandibuzz goes for the foul play again, as I get up the Drain Punch, and Mandibuzz is actually going to die to the Toxic. Now comes Nidoking. I choose to save my Conkeldurr here and go into Heat Train as Death Fodder, for this reason. That Excadrill is still looming around. I mean, I do pretty much have the game in the bag in my opinion, or what I thought at the time. But I was kind of fearing the Nidoking taking out my Conkeldurr, so I wouldn't have it for Excadrill and whatnot. So I decided to go into Heat Train as Death Fodder to first the Sludge Wave, but then he follows it up with an Ice Beam. And my Heat Train is pretty much out of the picture. And now I can pretty much go into the win con here. Shuka Berry, Agility, Empoleon. I mean, it is going to be taking the Sucker Punch from Nidoking, but I'm just going to fire off a Hydro Pump, get rid of that, and now his last mon is Excadrill, and I pretty much have it in the bag as long as I connect with Hydro Pump. And if I don't, I do have a little bit of priority on me in the form of Conkeldurr. Celebi could take a few hits, and Swamperts get their first win of the season. Finally. And kind of looking at it, the seasons 3 and 4 were actually kind of flip-flopped. Yeah, I didn't get my first loss until week 4 of last season, and I didn't get my first win until week 4 of this season. So, finally got off the schneid there, and not without making a few extra moves for week 5. First off, I actually wound up dropping Blastoise for Gastrodon in free agency. Blastoise was a pretty nice spinner for my team, but thing is, trying to gel with Empoleon there for hazard control, yeah, it didn't really work out like I would have hoped. And Gastrodon has a little bit more leeway for my team. I can actually sponge some electric hits pretty safely. Lando, I could have done the same thing, but I would be fearing the HP Ice. But now Gastrodon, I don't really have to worry about that. Only thing I'd have to worry about is HP Grass. So Gastrodon is going to be a very welcome addition to the Swamperts. And now for a lot more controversial move. I traded what originally I thought was going to be the most important member of the San Antonio Swamperts this season. And it's going to come as a shocker for what I traded it for. I traded Gothitelle for Skarmory. Yes, Gothitelle provided me with a lot more offensive presence. Pretty scary situations on what I wanted to trap and whatnot. But looking at my team and the composition, the chemistry that I had with Gothitelle was actually kind of hindering how I looked at it. I mean, I pretty much had 4 Psychic types in my team. Mega Alakazam, I couldn't find a way to fit that in. And it's a very threatening sweeper endgame, so yeah, that kind of hurt me in some places. Couldn't find a way to bring in Mega Alakazam. Celebi, defensively, it would have hurt me a lot. Metagross, while gelling with Gothitelle, relatively nicely in some places. Knockoff weaknesses just would have stacked from there. I mean, Gothitelle does have an outstanding offensive move pool and support move pool at that point, or from that perspective. Thunderbolt, HP Fire, which we saw against the Ferrothorn, which I honestly could have trapped with Heatran, but hindsight's 20/20. But hey, removing the hazards were definitely great for me. Taunt is a thing, and a whole bunch of other options that I could have run with Gothitelle, but the chemistry Gothitelle brought to my team was, ironically, a lot like the kind of chemistry Greg Hardy brought to the Cowboys this season, which definitely bits. And yes, in the NPL document, I nicknamed my Gothitelle Greg Hardy, because appropriate. And now in Gothitelle's place, I got Skarmory. I pretty much now have another Defogger on my team to alleviate more pressure from Empoleon since I lost Blastoise to free agency. And pretty much the ability to mess around with the Skarm, Gastro, Celatran core. And if you know your Gen 5 pokes, or Gen 5 meta, Skarm Gastrotran was pretty nasty on balance. So, happy to have Skarmory along, and definitely looking forward to seeing what Skarmory can provide for the Swamperts, as well as Gastrodon. So, hoping you guys enjoyed this match and a little bit of talk through that happened in free agency. Rate, comment, sub, and I'll see you guys next time.